The following program is sponsored by Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County. This episode of Mosaic is brought to you in part by the Stacy and Mark Levy Center for Israel and Overseas.
Welcome to our 46th season of Mosaic. I'm your host, Susan Shulman Pertnoy. Mosaic is Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County's weekly news magazine, exploring the most critical issues facing Jews here and around the world. The Jewish Agency for Israel. What is it? And why is it so important to our community? Today, we'll hear from the agency's leaders at both the international and domestic levels to answer those questions and learn about the incredible impact our community is making in the Jewish homeland. That's coming up on Mosaic. We're so proud to celebrate our community visionaries, donors who contribute $1 million or more, serving as an inspiration for all of Jewish Palm Beach. One of the best ways to combat anti-Semitism and all forms of hatred is through education. Learn more about the complex issues that lead to hate at jewishpb.org/standuptohate. Welcome back. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Doron Almog, who's the chairman of the executive of the Jewish Agency for Israel, and Mark Wilf, who's the chairman of the Board of Governors for the Jewish Agency. Welcome to Mosaic.
Thank you, Susan.
I'd like to give our viewers a little background about each of you. So, Doron is a true war hero, serving as a major general in the Israeli Army, the Israeli Defense Forces. He's a proud recipient of the Israel Prize, the country's highest honor, and now leads the Jewish Agency for Israel. Mark has been a lay leader with numerous organizations in the United States and around the world that support the global Jewish community. An attorney by profession, he has real estate development projects both in the United States and in Israel, and in his spare time, he's the co-owner and president of the NFL's Minnesota Vikings, and he's also the owner of 2 soccer teams. Needless to say, our guests are quite accomplished. Today we're going to talk about the Jewish Agency and the work that it does, which has been in existence since 1929. But a lot of our viewers don't know what the organization does. Can you explain that?
I will start. Jewish Agency, as a matter of fact, built the State of Israel. Right now, the Jewish Agency focuses on 3 missions, 3 main missions. Number 1, the connecting all the Jewish communities all over the world, operating in 66 countries. Number 2, Aliyah, immigration to Israel. As a matter of fact, Israel is the 3rd temple. We lost the 1st temple, 2nd temple, and now this is our chance to continue building, flourishing a wonderful state of Israel. Aliyah is the idea of kibbutz galuyot, bring all the Jews together. So we are focused on Aliyah since the war started. About 35,000 Olim immigrants, many of them youngsters, many of them joined the IDF fighting. More than 100 Olim also fell in battles. So this is number 2 mission, Aliyah. And number 3, resilience. Continue building the state of Israel, focusing on rehabilitation of South and North. We still have about 60,000 people, Israelis, who are evacuated from north of Israel, living in center of Israel, and more than 3,000 houses destroyed in north of Israel. We assume that about 30% of the residents of south and north, south the Gaza envelope communities and north near the border, unable to return. And we need to boost them. We need to return. We need to continue building the communities physically more. For instance, your father, Helen, that supported Amigur, which is the real estate company of Jewish agency, intend to build 1,000 houses to do expansion of about 50 kibbutzim, 20 houses each, and also in north of Israel, building thousands of houses, but also bring people to a social village. So, and of course supporting the trauma, the mental trauma, and assisting victims of terror.
I think it's important also for your viewers to know that the Jewish Agency is really the largest Jewish nonprofit in the world. Yes, we have a budget of nearly $500 million, but more importantly, it is the vehicle, the organization of which we in the American Jewish community were a key partner in building the State of Israel, bringing in over 3 million people over this Israel's history from all over the world.
That's remarkable.
The Aliyah. So
Yes.
our viewers should know that. And also, today, when you sit in Israel, when the Israeli government hears, how does the Jewish people in America get heard? They have a seat at the Jewish Agency. That is the voice of the worldwide Jewish people in Israel, is the Jewish Agency. So your viewers may not be familiar with the name, but the Jewish Agency for Israel is their voice, and it's their arm on supporting and connecting and making Israel the vibrant state it is.
So how does that relate to our federation? How do we support the Jewish Agency?
Well, when your donors, your viewers, people that are thankfully supporting the Jewish Federation, the largest overseas beneficiary of the entire Jewish Federation system in America, including in Palm Beach County, is the Jewish Agency for Israel. We receive many millions of dollars, and we're very grateful for the support of North American Jewry. I'm proud to be a donor myself, and I think it's an important statement that when you hear the word Israel, when your friends talk about Israel, everyone who is Jewish should feel a very strong part of being part of that.
And that's a very important goal. I hope they do. I hope we can achieve that. Doron, you have such an incredible military background, and you've been involved in so many wars in Israel. Can you tell us militarily what's going on in the north and the south?
Right now in the north there is ceasefire, which I hope will continue. In the south we continue fighting in Gaza, but from my opinion we dismantle most of Hamas power in Gaza, and this is a time for hostage deal, to bring back our hostages, 98 hostages still in Gaza, and we need to redeploy our forces. This is our time to return the hostages and maybe release many of the terrorists that are jailed right now in Israel. For my opinion, we can release all of them, or most of them. The conditions in Gaza are much worse than in Israel jail. They may stay 10 or 20 years making a BA or master degree or even PhD. Yes, so I believe we may do a redeployment of our forces, deploy strong, robust defensive array around Gaza, continue hitting them after when it's necessary, according to the main principle which led us every time. The one who comes to kill you, kill him first. So we know how much capacity the State of Israel having by watching the leaders of terrorist organization, if it's Hezbollah or Hamas or in Yemen. We are able to protect ourselves. Of course, we need the United States as a strong strategic ally together with the State of Israel, but this is a situation to make a change right now.
On that note, we have to stop and take a quick break. We'll be right back after this brief message. Up next, more with Doron Almog and Mark Wilf on the future of the Jewish Agency. Stay with us.
Israel's economic security is at risk. The October 7 terrorist massacre and Israel-Hamas war are having a disastrous effect on small businesses in Israel. Now there's a way for you to help safeguard the financial stability of millions of people. Visit jewishpb.org/loansdonate or scan this QR code to learn about Federation's Israel Emergency Relief Business Loan Program.
Did you know that you can now enjoy Mosaic on the go? Listen to the Mosaic podcast by scanning the QR code on the screen or find it wherever you listen to podcasts. Welcome back. Doron, how do we incentivize Israelis to move back to the borders?
Number one, to give them trust on our security. On October 7, we failed. We failed to protect the state of Israel. We failed to protect Israelis. About 1,200 were killed and many were taken hostage. We failed. Number one, we need the genuine, open discussion among us, the Israeli, to admit that we failed. Number one. Number two, rehabilitation of North and South will compensate our citizens, the citizens of North and South, and hug them and give them the feeling that we are united. Internally, right now, it's not happened. Yet there is no committee, national committee, to investigate what happened on October 7. And it's needed, and I think there is majority in Israel public to set a national committee in order to have lessons learned.
What about security? I mean, people have to feel safe to want to go back to these places. How do you...
No one can guarantee that Israel would be secured forever. There's one thing that we can promise ourselves. Our spirit is strong.
Yes, it is.
And we are ready to do the maximum effort, including giving our life to protect the only Jewish state in the world. This is a statement by many Israelis, who left their office, who left their families and children, and run to fight for saving the state of Israel. They took responsibility on their shoulders. None of them said October 7 is our failure, but they took responsibility to continue guarantee Israel security.
When we first started the program, you were talking about the concept of Aliyah, immigration. The Jewish Agency helps support Jews to come back to Israel. I don't understand. You mentioned 35,000 people made Aliyah to Israel during the war. I mean, how do people won't even come to visit? I don't know how they even
what's
did
remarkable is there are Jews all over the world where to be in Israel, to be among Jewish people, when you come from a place like Russia or Ukraine or even from North America, many people feel, and it's right, that Israel is a burning light for the Jewish people. And people that love their Judaism and love Israel, Israel is a wonderful place. And I'm hoping in 2025, as hopefully things begin to stabilize, the tourism will come back too. But the fact is the Aliyah from places like the Soviet Union, many young people with advanced degrees, with professional backgrounds, it's a very strong Aliyah. And I think that's going to be an important part of securing the long-term future of the state of Israel.
Yeah, I would say that the Aliyah from October 7 until now, this is Aliyah of the brave one.
Yes.
Those who understand that Israel is a very risky place, maybe the most dangerous place all over the world, more than 30,000 missiles and rockets and war, and they come. And they're ready to fight and give their life. This is Aliyah of the brave one. But we need to attract people to the startup nation. We need exemplary society. The absolute victory is not in battlefield. Absolute victory, continue building Israel as exemplary society, which is striving for excellency on every field and never forget the weakest behind. Never.
The agency is also incentivizing people, young people, to move to back to the South with all sorts of programs and converting absorption centers to places that are enticing people. You want to talk about that?
Well, a big part of what we do is connecting Jews worldwide. So whether it's in the South, we're going to have villages where people, young people, we want to bring them to Israel. We have amazing programs to bring young people to Israel. We have Masa for long-term programs. We have shlichim, Israeli ambassadors, almost 3,000 going all over the world. Right here in Palm Beach County, there are these shlichim and shinshinim, our Israeli messengers. They're in our synagogues, schools, senior homes, and really being part and connecting with young Jewish people. So including just this past summer, we had over 1,000 Israelis come to summer camps throughout the United States.
That's remarkable.
And so these connections in Israel and in North America and all over the world is something the Jewish Agency is big on promoting. I know Doron and myself are constantly promoting this because that's the future. That's how we're going to connect and making sure the next generation feels that same love of Israel.
I think, that there is paradox. Many youngsters from Jewish people all over the world feel more secured in Israel. Despite the war and missiles and all the mess around, they feel more secured. Why? Because of the mutual responsibility, because of the society around them. They feel more connected, and
because they
maybe
have a stake in the
more
society.
confidence. They have
Yes.
more confidence, and maybe also meaning. We are looking for meaning in our life. And I think many youngsters feel that Israel gives them meaning. And they come and they want to come and they want to be a part of something which is bigger than their life.
And,
So you-
and Israel gives us self-esteem too on the college campuses with all the challenges we have here. That connection to Israel also strengthens the young people that are here too. So it's a
It's
two-way
pride. It's
street,
very
and
prideful
yes.
because of what Israel is capable of doing and what they have done with the startup nation and the intellectual power. It's really something. So, on that note, what gives you hope for the future? We're basically talking about it.
Well, I will tell you certainly, for me personally, the gentleman to my right here is representing, and he himself gives me hope because he represents, of course, a war hero himself and someone we all admire and I personally admire, but he's representing also the resilience, the bravery, and the courage of the Israeli people. I've been so unbelievably impressed by how strong and resilient the Israeli people are. And I know in our community we feel that. And our work gives us hope. My parents were refugees from the Holocaust. And when the Ukraine war, for instance, broke out, and my parents were refugees on that border 70 years ago. And now there's an Israeli flag as the first thing those Ukrainian refugees saw.
And there wasn't one then.
And there wasn't one then. So we have a state of Israel now. That gives me hope. There's people like Doron and all the great Israelis we all have been privileged to know. So there's a lot to be hopeful for, and our work is hopeful as well. We're saving lives, securing Jewish communities around the world, and energizing and educating young people.
I think the DNA of the Jewish people is something much greater than each individual. And speaking about
collective, yes.
Joseph Wilf, after Holocaust, after 6 million were killed in the Second World War, built empire here in the United States, children that were born here, so connected, so devoted to the state of Israel. This is something of the DNA. This is the mutual responsibility to continue our global mission, the Jewish global mission, continue building our beloved country, just like that. And I'm certain that every Israeli and Jew all over the world may participate and feel right now this is the moment. This is the moment of crisis, rise of anti-Semitism, but we are able to do something beautiful, much bigger than us, and build a wonderful state, the startup nation.
That's absolutely right. On that note, we have to end our conversation, but thank you so much for everything that you do, and Israel's in great hands with you at the helm of the Jewish Agency. Thank you both.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll explore the local effort to support the Jewish Agency with Federation's President and CEO, Michael Hoffman. Stay with us.
since October 7th, we have seen our community come together in ways we could not have anticipated. And that's what led to the Activating Jewish Life movement. The Activate Jewish Life movement is a first of its kind, intends to connect with families with children, to connect with teens, to connect with young adults, and ensure that they always feel as though they're part of something larger than themselves, being part of a larger Jewish community. It's such a unique opportunity to be able to launch a bold initiative just like this. The Activate Jewish Life movement is going to be a game changer. However people want to engage with Jewish life, we want to make sure that we are providing them with an opportunity to engage in ways that have relevance and meaning for them. Thanks to our partners in the Jewish community and our Federation agencies, what an opportunity we have to change the face of Jewish life.
Thank you for staying with us. Joining us now is Michael Hoffman. He's the CEO and president of our Jewish Federation. Michael, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Susan. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's always a pleasure. We've just been speaking with Mark Wilf and Doron Almog from the Jewish Agency. What is our Federation's role, and how do we support the agency?
The Jewish Agency for Israel is probably one of the most critical organizations that we fund as a federation. It actually represents the largest allocation that we give to any organization locally or overseas is to the Jewish Agency for Israel. We have had a long relationship with the Jewish Agency for Israel since the founding of our federation over 60 years ago. Many of our most senior lay leaders over the years, they have served in senior leadership positions. But most importantly, especially over these past few years, the Jewish Agency has been our primary agent on the ground in Israel and around the world to support the most critical and urgent needs facing the people and the state of Israel. If you think what the people of Israel have gone through since October 7th, 2023, the level of trauma that they have experienced is something that is unimaginable. They have served on the border, they have served in Gaza, they have served in Lebanon. Family members have been worried sick about their brothers and their sisters and their husbands and their uncles that are serving on the border. Family lives have been disrupted. 190,000 Israelis have been displaced from the north and the south. There's an estimate of 5 million Israelis that are experiencing trauma due to the war from October 7th.
I mean, the trauma is overwhelming. And for children, it started with the pandemic, and then it just went right into this tragedy of October 7th and beyond. So what are we doing to help the children?
So we have been supporting a program called Youth Futures, which is a program sponsored by the Jewish Agency for Israel. Youth Futures traditionally has provided mentors to help children from lower socioeconomical situations. You and I just went to Israel recently, and when we visited a school that had been opened in November for the first time since the start of school. And we witnessed kids going through an exercise sort of in the event of an air raid siren. We also saw a kid, this beautiful, beautiful child, that he basically would only conduct his studies in the hallway because he was too scared to be in a classroom because of all of the windows. So what these kids have gone through over the past 4 to 5 years, in addition to that's been dramatically sort of increased since October 7th, it's unimaginable, and we're here to support these kids and help them kind of receive the stability that they so desperately need.
Thank goodness that we're able to do this, and it's going to continue for such a long time.
This is a generational issue of our obligation to support the rebuilding of Israel, both physically and also emotionally.
Let's talk economically. The economy has suffered greatly, but there are programs to help the Israelis get back on their feet financially.
We recognize when the war first started, our leadership, we sort of had the foresight and vision to recognize that in addition to helping Israel with mental health challenges and trauma and helping displaced Israelis who were forced to move out of their homes in the north and the south, we also knew that we had to support Israel economically. And again, if you think about it, since the start of the war, Israeli has had its reservists sort of called into duty Some reservists have been on the front lines for about 300 days. And Israel doesn't have a standing army. And so when there is a conflict like this, they have to call up the brave men and women to serve in the army. Again, they're in Gaza, they're in Lebanon, they're on the front lines. But when they're on the front lines, they're not able to operate their business. These are small businesses up in Sfat, which is one of our regions. They're small businesses down south. They're not able to operate. Their workers have been called up. And so by offering up these small business loans through a couple of organizations that we funded through their platforms, including Spark.il and Ogun and a few other organizations, we've been able to help these small businesses stay open and stay alive, and which serves as the livelihood for both the business owners and all the people who work for them, which is very substantial.
You mentioned Sfat, which is one of the 3 municipalities that are part of our partnership region in the north, in the Zahar, it's called the Zahar region. They have suffered, immensely, which we actually witnessed when we were on that trip. What are we doing and what have we done to help support them?
We've had an amazing 30-year relationship with the region of Sahar, which is Sfat, Rosh Pinah, and Chatzor up in the northern part of Israel. The region has been incredibly impacted for so many reasons. One, the evacuation zone up north went up to 9 kilometers. So if you live between the border and 9 kilometers, you were forced to evacuate. Well, Tzfat is 10.3 kilometers from the border. So they did not evacuate, nor did they receive the government funding that other communities had received. Many members of the community have left the region out of fear and out of concern. They also had to absorb many of the individuals who were displaced from the northern communities on the border of Lebanon. And we continue to talk to them about how we can continue to support the region as they move from dealing with the conflict to the day after, where there's a lot of rebuilding that has to take place physically and also emotionally.
I'll tell you, I know you could go on because there's such enormous needs, and I'm so proud of our federation and what we've been able to accomplish in terms of helping Israel and continue to be able to help Israel. So I really want to thank you. You've done a yeoman's job being at the helm of Federation.
Well, I just want to thank, there's so many donors and people have been so generous over these past couple of years since the start of the war that has allowed us to help the people and the state of Israel in ways that we can only imagine. And so thank you to our donors and to our dedicated lay leadership like you and Mark Wilf and Brian Seymour and others who are so committed to ensure that we're fulfilling our mission, which is supporting and strengthening our connection with the people and the state of Israel.
Thank you.
This program is sponsored by Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County.